Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. It's time for 1972. We've been hitting some big years in these yearly countdowns. 72 is pretty big too. Not quite as huge as 71, but still some killer stuff. But let's first see what's going on around the world and in the culture in 1972. Richard Nixon is still your president. In fact, he will win re-election in 1972 in a landslide victory. Also, it's probably not that important, but there was this little break-in in the Watergate building. I don't think anything will come of that, but that happened in 72. Um, More importantly, The Price is Right debuts on television in 1972. At the 72 Olympics in Munich, you have the horrible terrorist attack, of course. The Godfather wins Best Picture that year. And Atari releases one of the very first video games, Pong. All right, so let's get into the music here. As we always do, let's start with some honorable mentions. We'll grab this little stack here. Now, one thing, 72 is a great year for progressive rock. Got some kind of prog rock heavy hitters here. Start with this one just in the honorable mention. But here, actually, let me set this down so I can hold this up here. Wishbone Ash releases Argus. Now, I don't have a ton of Wishbone Ash. I've got maybe their first 4 records or so, but this record really is phenomenal. It's just got that killer, twin guitar attack with Andy Powell and Ted Turner. And this, I don't know, at least of all the Wishbone Ash that I have heard, this is the best. The King Will Come. God, that's a great song that is. Anyway, we're just in the honorable mentions, right? I did a ZZ Top video a while back, so I did talk about this one, but their sophomore effort, Rio Grande Mud, comes out in 72, and just where they hit their stride, like where they first get their sound, is awesome. Santana. Now this is my it's not supposed to be a little white spot there. It's torn a little bit. This is a used copy I found. The vinyl's in great shape, but the cover's a little battered. But Caravanserai, Caravanserai, where Santana, that's kind of cool. Explores, I guess a little more fusion sound, a little more jazz elements in there. Exploration, I love it. Just the songs just sort of flow into each other. At least half of them are instrumentals, but it's just got a great feel and vibe to it. Not doesn't have that commercial sound that those first 3 Santana records had, but he's moving in some bolder territory perhaps. And this would be where both Greg Raleigh and Neil Sean, it's the last record that they're on, and they bolt and of course form Journey. What else we got here in the honorable mention? I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly. Neu, I believe. But brilliant Motornik out of Germany. I don't know if Neu and Kraftwerk and Can or Con, I say Can. All coming out around this time period. Tangerine Dream too. If you're into some of that kind of German experimentation, this is pretty awesome. This is pretty essential in that genre. Grateful Dead were busy this year. Not only did they put out Europe 72, a colossal 3 record set, which is, if you're think I actually talked about this in the double album, even though this is a triple album video. Um, I don't know if you're interested in dipping your toes in the into Live Dead. I think this is a great place to start. But also, you had several solo albums from the members of the Dead, which really might as well have been Dead albums because a ton of these songs enter the Dead live repertoire and remain. But Jerry Garcia releases his fantastic debut, Garcia, which I mean, man, just some killer songs on here. I'd say about half of these enter the Grateful Dead's, you know, standard set lists. Bob Weir also releases his solo debut, Ace, and I would say pretty much every single one of these songs enters the Grateful Dead repertoire. This is a fantastic record. Lou Reed puts out Transformer, probably his, I don't know, his most well-known record, probably, I think. Produced by David Bowie. Yeah, yeah, produced by David Bowie and Mick Ronson. Yeah, I was trying to make sure that Mick Ronson was also on there. We have Bowie and Ronson produced this. Um, yeah, Vicious, Perfect Day, Walk on the Wild Side, of course, Satellite of Love. That's awesome. Lou Reed. Stephen Stills goes big. Well, he puts together this group, Manassas, which also includes some other big names. Chris Hillman's involved here. Dallas Taylor, Bill Wyman, actually from the Rolling Stones, plays on some tracks here. Manassas, yeah. So the band's Manassas, but it really is kind of Stephen Stills in charge. Ambitious double album, really kind of a concept album exploring different American music. Sort of each side has its own, like one side's kind of country bluegrass, one side it's more blues rock, one side has sort of Latin rock. Yeah, it's an interesting, very interesting mix, and yeah, I think quite ambitious and very very well respected amongst a lot of people. I think it's pretty awesome. Nick Drake puts out Pink Moon, of course, which wouldn't really get a ton of recognition at the time, but has since become this surprise classic, right? And well deserved. I mean, just gorgeous. His guitar play, his finger picking is so intricate and so nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful record, beautiful melancholy, I think. And yeah, okay. And this is the final one of the honorable mentions. The band put out Rock of Ages double live album that I think I should have, pretty sure I mentioned in my double live video. Alan Toussaint comes in and does all the horn charts, and just phenomenal knockout live set from the band. Peak of their powers. All right, let's get into the top 10. My top 10, my choices, what I think, or at least, I don't know, my favorite records of 1972. We're going to start with some jazz. Really kind of soul jazz, a little fusion here. Jimmy Smith with Root Down, the live album from Jimmy Smith, and it is one of the funkiest records you'll ever hear. I guess probably a lot of people are familiar with Root Down, maybe from, of course, the Beastie Boys, right? But where do you think they got that sample? Just phenomenal I mean, just sweaty funk. Oh man, so good, so good. Now this is one of these rare records though, where I probably would recommend the CD version, unless I don't know. This is, I think, how it was originally released. It's a reissue, but unless they've actually released kind of an expanded version of this on vinyl, which they might have. But at least as far as what I know, I would suggest the CD version, just because it's got almost most of the tracks are way longer. Some of them like twice as long, and these are grooves that you just want to go forever. I I got this CD first, and then I was super psyched to find it on vinyl, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, because I was so used to these CD versions, which are like extended long jams, and they're a little tighter cut to fit the vinyl. But I go with the CD. Um, where are we at? So number 9. Now, most of you guys know if you've been watching this channel, I'm a big Neil Young fan, so you might be surprised I have this low, but I do. Not my favorite Neil Young album, but brilliant, of course. Talking about Harvest, of course. Probably his, I don't know, is this his biggest commercial hit? I know it has his only number one song that he ever had, which is Heart of Gold, of course. But yeah, I mean, Out on the Weekend, Harvest, Heart of Gold, Old Man, just stunningly great. Needle and the Damage Done, Alabama. Yeah, I mean, yeah, brilliant record, of course, and a record that his the record label ever since, all the labels he's been on has been begging him to release another Harvest, right? Never quite did. I know Harvest Moon way later, but yeah, I mean, there's only one Harvest. All right, number 8, I already discussed in a video I've done a while back, the Allman Brothers video. So if you want a extended discussion of this, go check that out. But Eat a Peach, massive double album, of course, comes out partially live with kind of extra tracks from the Fillmore East shows and some of the last studio tracks that Dwayne Allman was working on, and then also filled out with some newer studio tracks post Dwayne Allman after he died. And so just a brilliant encapsulation of the Allmans here. A triumphant way forward in the face of tragedy. Number 7, the debut from this band, and you'll probably see, I don't know, rest of the 70s. They'll make regular appearances in my lists, but here's the debut from Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. A little bit more rock and roll than some of their later stuff, but I mean, starting with Do It Again, immediately so distinctive. I love Dirty Work. That's such a great song. I know David Palmer takes the vocal on that um, instead of Donald Fagen, but still great. Kings, Reeling in the Years. God, that guitar solo by Elliot Randall. One of the great guitar solos of the 70s. I mean, I know that song's on the radio all the time, but like just listen to the guitar work in that song. Stunning. All right. I did tell you that 1972 was a big year for progressive rock. So I got a few prog rock records coming up here in the number 6 slot. Close to the Edge by Yes, Considered by Many. Beautiful artwork in there, of course, from Roger Dean. Considered by many to be the pinnacle of Yes's great, classic period. It's hard to argue against that. Only 3 songs on here. The side long, Close to the Edge. Then on side 2, you've got And You and I, and then Siberian Katru. All 3 of these songs are just genius, brilliant. Yeah, and I don't know. Is this like the greatest lineup of Yes? John Anderson, Bill Bruford, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman. I don't know, it's tough. But Close to the Edge. Number 5, let's stick with the progressive rock classics. Going with Genesis, Foxtrot. Of course, the Peter Gabriel years, in my view, really hitting their stride with this one. Of course, you have Supper's Ready, the epic length Supper's Ready, and Get 'Em Out by Fridays on there, Watcher of the Skies, Can Utility, and the Coastliners. Yeah, I mean, this might be, this is perfect progressive rock on here. I mean, there's, and you're going to see the next 2 Genesis records pretty high up as we get to them. This trilogy of records starts with Foxtrot is just amazing. Yeah, it's hard to say which one is the most amazing, but all three are just brilliant. All right. Coming in at so that was five. So coming in at number four. Now, for many years now, I have been saying this band has been on the greatest streak ever. And this is, generally acknowledged, and I agree, kind of the end of that streak. Now, that's not to say that the Rolling Stones didn't have some other great records in the 70s. They do. Probably see them at least in some honorable mentions, or maybe making the list. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, this is the last of that just genius, brilliant, Mount Everest streak. Of course, Exile on Main Street, the brilliant, sprawling double album, decadence, recorded in the gutter, but beauty as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just we'll do a Stones video. We'll talk about all these records at length, but Exile on Main Street. All right, my top three for 1972. And as usual, when we get into the top threes, I mean, it's just stunners. So at number three, and I actually, kind of last minute as I was looking at this list before filming, I bumped this up a couple slots. I just had to. Man, I love this record. The debut from Big Star, number one record. I'll, I'll do a, yeah, I mean, I should definitely do a Big Star video. Not a huge discography at all, but a huge impact and a fascinating story too behind this band. I know Alex Chilton is viewed as kind of the genius in this band. I really love the combination of Chilton and Chris Bell, and I think it's the brilliance of those two guys working together that makes this record so just incredible. Just power pop. That's the word I was looking for. Power pop. I mean, is this kind of the granddaddy of power pop? I don't know, but hugely influential later. I mean, famously flopped when it came out, like all their stuff at the time that it came out. Um, Just a fascinating story. This band. There's a great documentary on them. Let me save all this for the Big Star video. It's a great story. All right, coming in at number two. Wow, this record's brilliant. Van Morrison, St. Dominic's Preview. We talked about the Stones streak. Van Morrison was on a amazing streak as well during this period. This may be the peak. I don't know. Yeah, we'll do some Van Morrison video later too. But yeah, one of the things I think is so great about this record, it's got it's eclectic. It's got some real tight like singles. Jackie Wilson said, of course, Gypsy. Kind of his love of blues and R&B with "I Will Be There." Redwood Tree's pretty concise too. It's got some of those kind of medium length tracks where he's really kind of goes into some fascinating writing with the title track, St. Dominic's Preview. And then he's got two of those just expanded, just stream of consciousness, just mesmerizing explorations with Almost Independence Day and Listen to the Lion. So you kind of get a lot of facets of Van Morrison like during his classic period on this record. I can't say enough about this one. But my number one record for 1972, well, you know what I haven't talked about yet? Not a surprise. um, yeah, I'd like to be eclectic and cool and get off the beaten path, but it is what it is. You cannot deny David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. A perfect record, the perfect record. We started Bowie's streak in the last video. We're going to be hearing from Bowie quite a bit throughout the 70s. But just absolute perfect in concept, perfectly executed, a perfect set of songs. I mean, it's pointless to pick out highlights. It's a highlight from start to finish, although that opening with five years, Oh my God. Um, and that band, so it says Bowie, of course, but Mick Ronson is key to the sound on here. Trevor Boulder on bass, and then Mick Wood Woodmansey on drums. I think I said that right. It's just it's kind of where everything came together for Bowie. And just creates his persona. So yeah, Ziggy Stardust. I don't know how. I don't really see how anything else could be number one in this year, but in the comments, argue for something else if you want. Yeah, that's what's fun about this. We can have these discussions. Anyway, my number one for 72. Well, all right. So that's it. Great year as always. Yeah, I mean we're in this period where it's just great year after great year. Now I am looking at my little stack here, and it looks like I did forget an honorable mention. So I should mention it because some of you guys are going to burn me in the comments for not mentioning this. And the reason is I have it on CD, so I have the CD cover over here. I need it on vinyl, but I am mentioning for the record in the honorable mentions for 72, Black Sabbath Volume 4. Okay? So there, I said it. All right. Anyway, let us know in the comments. Did I miss anything in your view? Did I get it wrong anywhere? Let's talk about it. And please do subscribe if you enjoy the content. It really helps us out and get us where we want to be. Um, like the videos if you like them. Hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.